What's up, guys? This is Boondocks. Today I'm going to be showing my Trinity build, which is based around a single ability, and that's Energy Vampire. Now with this build, not only do you maintain your teammates at full energy, including yourself, but you're also going to be giving them shields. Some people like to swap out the shielding ability. I personally enjoy it. It makes both Trinity and the rest of your team a lot tankier, and that can be very helpful. So, let's get right into it. In order to make this build work, you need to have high range with as minimum duration as possible, which is why my duration, as you can see, is only at 15%. I could technically get it lower by maxing every time I make a video. I could technically get my range a little bit lower by maxing out my transient fortitude, but right now I feel like this isn't really necessary. I'll explain why later you want to have the lower duration. So as far as the mods are concerned, always take Corrosive Projection instead of Energy Siphon, because you're going to be at full energy at all times anyway. You're not going to have to worry about having your Energy Siphon to get you that little bit of extra. Instead, just take the Corrosive Projection in case you're in the Void, or against any armor targets like Grineer or Augmented Enemy Armor if you're in a sortie. I did use the Eximalus spot to put on a rush, just because I like going faster. And Trinity, while she's not the slowest frame imaginable, she's not exactly quick either. Plus I had the extra capacity, so might as well spend it. I then take Overextended. This is the first thing I want to throw on here just for that range boost. And that range, in my opinion, is more than enough to cover pretty much anything, unless you're doing the raid, in which case you might want to swap out Flow with Stretch. The reason I have Flow on is so that way, if I go into a sortie where you have decreased energy, you can still have more than enough to cast everything that you need really quickly in order to save your team or yourself. Though, as you can see, Stretch and Flow are the same, so I could technically just toss on a Stretch. And that's what I'll do for now, just to show off the maximum range. I then take an Intensify to compensate for the power down from my Overextended. This power down is pretty important due to making sure that your blessing will fully heal your entire team. You do also get the power up with the negative duration off of transient fortitude. Again, this negative duration is very important for this build, and I'll explain why once we actually look at the abilities. I then toss on redirection just to have that little bit of extra shielding for myself, and it synergizes pretty well with Vampire Leech. As far as fleeting expertise is concerned, the power efficiency doesn't matter that much. The actual reason you're taking this is for that negative duration. So definitely toss that on. Blinding Rage, just again for more power strength to boost it up for the blessing, but the efficiency doesn't actually affect you because you're going to be at full energy almost all the time regardless. So Vampire Leech is pretty important. This is where you get the extra shields for yourself and your team, increasing everybody's survivability. So Vampire Leech causes excess energy to replenish shields by 150%. So any over energy restore that you give your team is instead going to be deposited into their shields up to 150%, so more than doubling their shield capacity, which can become kind of ridiculous, especially when you look at Trinity, who already has 1,000 shields thanks to my level 9 redirection. When you add on the Vampire Leech, you can easily start getting around the, what is that, about 2,500 shields, and that takes a lot for you to go through. And since you're going to be constantly spamming Energy Vampire, your shields are going to be constantly at full. So then, that's pretty much the basic build as far as that's concerned. If you want to swap out Energy Leech, like I know a lot of people don't really care for it as much, you could go for pretty much anything like Quick Thinking, could be helpful, but then again, actually, not so much Quick Thinking. What am I trying to say here? Natural Talent. You can swap out for Natural Talent because EV does kind of have a relatively long cast time. So by putting on the Natural Talent, you just make sure that you're not stuck in that animation and getting blown up. Personally, I don't mind being stuck in the animation if I'm going to get back enough shield, but on higher level enemies, you might want to try the Natural Talent. Or you could even swap that out for Stretch. So, as far as their abilities and why you want this, we're going to start with Blessing. Blessing is pretty ridiculous. It instantly heals both health and shields of your allies, including all their companions and sentinels, and it's just kind of ridiculous. It also gives a borderline immortality. It's a damage reduction based off of the lowest person you heal, but because of the duration being so long, that's not the important part of Blessing, because it's only at 1.5 seconds. So that's nowhere near as good. It's that 100% restoration that you're looking for, and that's what makes it really powerful as far as the heal is concerned. Link, don't even bother with Link in this build because it's only going to be on for 1.8 seconds, so totally pointless. The real one here is the Energy Vampire, and this is why you want the duration really low. Energy Vampire pulses 5 times. Each pulse is going to do 45.75 energy. So we'll just round that up to 50. I know that's a little bit cheating, but that's about 250 energy back each time you cast this. Well, by having a lower duration, those 5 pulses will all go off in that low duration. So if you had a high duration build, for say a Blessing Lifelink build, then Energy Vampire, while still useful, isn't as powerful. It requires you more to kill the enemy instead of just casting it and getting back all that energy right away. So additionally, having that increased range allows your energy to charge up your teammates in a much further distance away from you, as well as being able to cast it really far. Casting it really far becomes important, especially in big maps, where your teammate could be fighting way down on the other side of an area and be running low on energy, and then you can cast it all the way down there. Next thing you know, they're full energy again and able to just keep killing. As far as Well of Life goes, not exactly the best, but there is a really cool synergy with Well of Life and Energy Vampire. It's kind of hard to pull off, so I might practice it and then make a video on that combination. But basically what happens is Energy Vampire does do damage. It doesn't list it here, but it does a % health damage. And Well of Life, the way that Well of Life works, so that way you don't just insta-kill someone that you cast the Well of Life on, is it increases their health total, their total max. So by increasing their total max and then doing a % damage drain, if you cast Energy Vampire so that the last 2 procs go off just as Well of Life is ending, then enemies get nuked from like 1,000,000 damage. It's kind of ridiculous, and it's sometimes hard to see, but it's a lot of fun when you do pull it off, and I've been practicing at it a little bit. So one last thing with Trinity, as far as just her character goes, she does come with a new skin now, and I kind of like it. I really like the helmet, not so much the skirt. They were toying with not giving her a skirt. I really wish they had done that, because right now the only decent looking skirt, in my opinion, is her Prime version, but that's for Fashion Frame, and that's for another video. So as far as her weapons are concerned, when I'm tryharding, I like to take the Boltor Prime. The reason I like the Boltor Prime is it does so much extra damage that it just can burst down those enemies that you get up in your face or that your team's having a problem killing. You can add on that little bit of extra damage to finish them off. Again though, Trinity is a support player. She's not really focused on kills like some of the others might be. And in that vein of support, I do my usual thing. Bring my favorite weapon in the game, the Sonicer, because of the AoE knockdown on it. It's kind of ridiculous and very powerful for defense missions, for pretty much any mission, in all honesty, because enemies that are on the ground aren't hurting you or your teammates. So definitely something to think about. I then also take my Jack Tag, my Jack Kitty, just because, well, it's a little bit more knockdown in CC, and I definitely enjoy that. So definitely something to think about as far as weapons go. If you're casting EV almost all the time like you should be to power up your teammates, then you're not going to be able to attack all that often to begin with. So your weapons don't matter as much, and that's why I bring the Sonicer and the Jack Tag as crowd control in case enemies get up in your face, and the Boltor Prime to finish off those 1 or 2 stragglers that are higher health. So that's my Trinity build as far as my EV Trinity goes. I do, of course, have Oh, wrong button. I do have a Blessing Trinity as well, but that's for another time. So until then, guys, good luck, have fun, peace.